Welcome to BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is the Capital Farm Credit and Wednesday Night Podcast, our weekly look at the area athletic scene, what happened last week, and what's going on this week. I'm here with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom. And tonight, Dan, we've got head coach Will Cates, first-year head coach Will Cates of Merkel, joining us, coming off a nice 24-15 win over Reagan County in their opener.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be neat to talk to Coach Cates, particularly coming off his first career win. He's a guy that you and I have talked about that we really enjoyed working with him before the season. Kind of liked what he was doing out there in Merkel, and it was good to see them rewarded with that win on Friday against what I think a lot of people expected to be an improved Reagan County team. That was a team with a good number of lettermen back. So for Merkel to go out there and get that win was a big deal. And I think it also kind of just shows those kids that there's some reward for continuing to fight for Coach Cates. So that was cool to see. And I'm excited to talk to him because he's got kind of an interesting story. A guy from a coaching background who's taken over that Merkel job after applying for it just a year ago and not getting it. So I think there's a lot of interesting things to talk to with him about. And one of those is going to be that win. That was a big deal.
That's a come from behind win also.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, before we jump into this week's show, we need to thank our primary sponsor, Capital Farm Credit, with offices all over Texas, including Stanford and Abilene. Buy your own slice of Texas with Capital Farm Credit. Together, we're better. And with that, before we bring on Coach Cates, Dan, Friday night, with the results rolling in, every football team, pretty much, that we expected to take a step forward this year exhibited those signs Friday night. It's too early to say it's a done deal, obviously, but every football team that we more or less expected to really take that step forward this year looked good in week one. I'll start throwing out some of the teams. Snyder looked good. Early looked good. Breckenridge looked good. Forsan looked good. These are all teams that we expected to be a lot tougher this year.
Yeah, and one of my popular picks, even the Roscoe Plowboys, they didn't win their game against Holly, but they held Holly under 300 yards. And had it not been for some offensive mistakes, and granted, Holly made those plays defensively, but had it not been for some offensive mistakes, that game might have been a 4-quarter game, real close late. So I think this Roscoe team, from a talent standpoint, is ready to take a big step forward.
When I saw that score between Holly and Roscoe and saw the number of turnovers that Roscoe had, I immediately knew Roscoe is going to be doing just fine at Class 2A D2. You have 5 turnovers, and you're playing that Holly team that's a D1, that's a really good D1. You only lose by 20. With 5 turnovers, you cut those turnovers out, and we're looking at a pretty good D2 team in Roscoe. We really are, possibly, challenging for a district championship.
Yeah, and 2 of those turnovers went directly for scores. So, I mean, that's 14 points right there. But, sure. Yeah, and then looking at the rest of that district, Hamlin struggled with Stanford. Some of the teams, Rawls didn't play real well their opening week, Crosbyton and Lockney. That's a district where Roscoe will have a chance. But I think you are right. You look across the board, what Early did to Bangs, what Forsan was able to do to Coahoma. And that score was a little misleading because Coahoma had 3 chances inside the 5 and couldn't score on any of them. That game could have been a lot closer than it was, but still, that's still a really good win for Forsan. So yeah, these teams that we expect to take a big step forward so far are showing some early fruit of that being the case.
And there's another we can throw into the mix. We expected Dublin to be a lot better this year, and they certainly look good against De Leon. That's another one. And there's one that we kind of took a step back and said, nah, I don't think so. But the people in Brownwood said, yes, we're going to take a step forward this year. You're underrating us. And guess what? They go to Lampasas and beat a very good Lampasas team in an absolute shootout, a barn burner down there. Yeah. But, I mean, to get away with a win at Lampasas really says something, and Sammy Burnett was telling the truth.
Yeah, 58-55 win in that Lampasas game. And that was a back and forth game. They had to make some big plays to give themselves a chance there to win it, and they won it on a last second field goal. So yeah, a huge win for Brownwood. And then I thought it was interesting that some of the teams with new coaches, we're gonna be talking to Coach Cates, he's one that went out and got themselves a nice win. You talked about Dublin, Coach Hardcastle. They looked great against De Leon. Billy Mathis and Brock, they went and beat Bushland about how you'd expect Brock to beat Bushland, a good Bushland team. So these teams with new coaches also look like a a lot of them are headed in a positive direction too. So, like you said, you can't tell just a ton from one week of football, particularly the first week. We're going to see a lot of these teams that had forgettable first weeks, and I think all three of the local schools would say they did. We're going to see improvement from all of these teams. So if your team had a rough first week, don't panic. There's a lot of time left, and you're going to see a lot of improvement from these squads. But I do think that you can take some encouragement if your team did play well, particularly some of these that have been in kind of rebuilding situations. Yeah, I think you're going to see some big steps forward from them. So, and we've had some on the other end of that too, like that have gone through those rebuilds and now are back on the way up. And Coleman got them a shutout win. So there were a lot of good early signs from a lot of our teams.
You are our local guy, Abilene guy. Tell us in quick fashion what you saw from the locals Friday. It was pretty rough for Cooper and Wiley.
Yeah, it was a rough week for all three locals. Abilene High had the best showing of the three. They had a really bad first quarter, fell down behind 26-0 at Amarillo Tascosa. But after that, they kind of settled in and kind of played their brand of football and were able to make it at least somewhat respectable in a 40-21 loss. Whereas it was just a rough going for Abilene, Wiley, and Cooper. Wiley lost to Burleson 42-3. Cooper shut out by Keller 39-0. And yeah, just tough games on both ends. I think one thing to remember is both those teams they played are going to be quality opponents. But and these are young teams with a lot of newcomers in important positions. So I think it's just going to be a process for these teams, and they're just have to make steady progress as they get ready for district, and hope that by then they're playing better football. But I think all three locals would say it was a pretty forgettable first week.
And with that, it's just about time to bring on first-year Merkel head football coach Will Cates. But before we do that, we want to tip our cap to our sponsors. First and foremost, Capital Farm Credit, which brings you these Wednesday night podcasts free of charge throughout the school year. Also, for the love of the game broadcasting, and our old friend Terry Slavens, owner of KLAX 93.5 FM out of Breckenridge, KATX 97.7 FM out of Eastland, Classic Country 1330 AM out of Graham, 94.7 FM KWKQ out of Graham, KROO 1430 out of Breck, and KWBY 98.5 FM out of Ranger. That is for the love of the game broadcasting. Also, if you're in the market for a new vehicle, Rob Durham, sales consultant at Bayer Chevrolet Buick Cadillac up in Breckenridge, is the man to call. Give him a shout at 254-559-2266. One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. That is Rob Durham of Bayer Chevrolet Buick Cadillac in Breckenridge. And finally, Phil Hill of the Abilene Realtors Group, big supporter of local athletics. If you're in the market, give him a shout at 325-669-5153 or visit his website at philhillproperties.com. And joining us now, Merkel head football coach, first-year head football coach, Will Cates. Coach, thank you so much for joining us.
Appreciate it, guys. Really do. Love what you guys do for our kiddos and coverage of the big country.
Coach, right off the bat, congratulations, beating Reagan County in your opener 24-15. Tell us about that win, what it feels like to get that under your belt. And that's not an easy Reagan County team to beat. They were expected to take a step forward this year.
Yes, sir. I mean, I'd be lying if I told you I wasn't a little worried about them. They, both quarterbacks on film were both anywhere 6'3", 6'4". Coach's kid is one of them, and the other one played safety and some tight end. And so we knew they're big up front and two receivers. They caught two on us and really talented outside. I don't think we won pregame from a size standpoint, but our kids played extremely hard. We left some points out there too. I wasn't pleased from an operational standpoint. I felt like we could have been much more efficient. But the biggest thing is the kids played extremely hard, and they believed in what we were coaching the whole week. And it came out. That's one of the biggest things I think that we have an advantage here with these kids is we got down 6-0, and we didn't blink. And then we scored 18 unanswered right there. And we're going to clean up some of those special teams, trying to find a kicker and be efficient on extra points. I'm not a go for two guy all year, and I don't like to chase points. I want to be efficient in the kicking game. So we got some things to work on, but it's fun getting that first win. And really it's about the kiddos, not me, and just what they can do here in Merkel. And we're excited what the future holds.
And along those lines, just what was their response just to getting the season started with a win and having that kind of some positive momentum to build on?
I think more than anything, this senior class being, I understand the history. Heck, I'm the fourth guy in 4 years. And I think there was a level of, we're not real sure what his expectations are. We're not real sure what we can do. We had some talented seniors that graduated last year. Our quarterback was a talented kid, the Preston Jackson. And then, of course, when you look at what Ike did, he's an unbelievably gifted player, went to Midwestern. And so we have some holes to fill, but we have an unbelievably high character senior class. And I think that their character and their work ethic showed out Friday night. And we just need to ride those guys the rest of the way.
Okay. And Coach, you mentioned it was about the kids and not you necessarily, but at the same time, it was your first game as a head coach there. Was there anything that was it basically about what you expected? Were there any surprises, anything that throughout the process were kind of caught you off guard maybe a little bit?
Yeah, well, I think it never fails. I mean, I'd be completely honest with you. You always tell people it's, becoming a head coach is it's not really about X's and O's. It's all the other stuff, the peripheral stuff that goes on, pregame itineraries and making sure what time the band comes in and then y'all come in, visiting team. Until you're in the seat, it's kind of like having kids. You're never ready until you're really ready. So I've been ready for a long time. I'm extremely excited about this opportunity, but at the same time, it was exciting. It was fun on Friday night to be in that spot. And, but I got a great coaching staff that I've compiled, some guys that I really believe in. And we got some Merkel graduates that are young and kind of passionate about trying to get this thing right. And they're, they understand kind of the background of the community. So I was extremely excited for them because I'm grinding them right now. I'm not going to lie. I'm demanding a lot from my staff, but at the same time, they just, it's great to see them see what hard work, see it pay off. And that's what happened Friday night.
Coach, your grandpa was a coach. Two of your brothers are head coaches before you. I'm curious at what age you had made up your mind, this is what I'm going to do.
I would be lying to you. I went to Texas A&M and I got accepted in the Mays Business School. I wanted to be a sports agent, to be honest with you. And I got into business and I was in accounting and finance. And then I wanted to go to law school after A&M. And I took an accounting class in high school. And I thought, man, this isn't too bad. And I got in my accounting class at A&M, called my dad, and I said, Dad, I can't do this. I'm not going to be able to, it made me scared because I sit behind a desk for the next 35 years and, counting somebody else's money. And he said, you know what? He said, I know why you're doing it because you think about, well, the money and how great this could be, from a financial standpoint. But he said, if you can't go to work every day and be happy and do what you love, then you'll never, no amount of money will ever find that. And, of course, my brothers are already in the coaching profession. We all love football. It's who we are. It's not really something that we do. And from that moment on, I knew that I was going to go into coaching and got out in 4 years, did alternative certification, was at Lamar, Texas, working spring ball, the senior, the spring of my senior semester at A&M, going down 2 days a week. Had already been hired after spring break and just had to graduate in May, but I was working spring ball and absorbing it and, burning up the Beltway down in Houston to Highway 6 back to College Station. So, it's been a heck of a ride so far. I've been around some great coaches, including my brothers, but my mentor was Brian Irwin, who won a couple state championships in Lamarck. And, I can't tell you the value that those men, including my brothers, have had on my career and how much I've learned from them and seeing, kind of really not only how to run a program, but really taking care of kids. That's what it comes down to. Because if your relationships aren't there are a lot of guys that chase talent in this profession. There's a lot of guys that, can coach some great athletes, but it's those kiddos that when you're down a little bit, 1 year and they have to know that you love them and you care for them and they'll do anything for you. And that's what we got to build here. I wish Jonah Whites were walking around. They're not. And the kids we have believe and they're working extremely hard. So that's what we got to rock and roll with.
You mentioned your family. I'm sure that your family's happy for you and proud of you and excited about what's going on. Just did you hear from them after Friday's night's win, and kind of what were some things that they talked to you about?
Yeah, well, I'll be honest with you. So, of course, both of their game times were at 7:30. Ours was at 7. We played entirely too many snaps. I was kind of upset about that. We got off the field at like 10:05. It was a 3-hour game, and way too many snaps for my liking. But Jed and at Richland was playing Haltom, our main rival, and then Matt was in a barn burner with Rockdale. They actually blocked a kick, scoop and score at the end with like 6 seconds to beat Rockdale. So we were all 3-0. It took us a while to kind of text back and forth and say, hey, great job in the win. Love you. Of course, our mom and dad were all over it before we were. But, it was a cool night. Cates brothers were 3-0, and we all kind of got off to the right start. And we got to just keep that momentum moving forward.
I'm a Haltom grad. My brother was at the Haltom Richland game for about 2.5 quarters, but it wasn't much fun for him. But I'm happy.
No. Yeah, they got some talented kids though. Richland has it is evolved through the years.
Coach, you're the 4th head coach that Merkel has had in a 4-year span. You were talking before the season had started about the challenge of building that trust. How's that progressing?
I think it really, we kind of just came in and hit the ground running. Of course, I've had to hire quite a bit of staff. But with that being said, these kids, I think because of the turnover, they're quite resilient. However, they're yearning for somebody to establish a program here and stay here. And no disrespect to those other guys that came through. I mean, they're we're all good men. And of course, I talked to some of Coach Hart's staff last year when I came in, and there are a couple that left late, and even Coach Hart himself talked to him, and he's a great coach, had great success, but they're just wanting somebody to believe in and latch on to. And these kids got to know that it's not their fault that it's 4 and 4 years. And if I'm the next guy and there's a next guy, it's them that make the program. And that's kind of what I've tried to sell to them, is that it's not about this seat so much as it is about them believing and creating a tradition of their own, setting the standard of what do you want people around the big country to think of Merkel. And when they walk, see that Merkel bus roll up, or when they walk in, Badger Stadium, they know that they're fixing to get 48 minutes of unbelievable effort, and they're going to be well coached and play as hard as they extremely can. And that's kind of what we've tried to establish with these guys.
And with that transition, I guess, how important are some of those holdovers? I'm thinking of familiar faces, guys like Coach Williams, like Coach Lee, who've just been around the program a while. How important were those guys just in terms of the transition, both for you and for the kids?
Yeah, which Coach Williams, he's been here 4 years, so I'm his 4th AD in 4 years. That's a tough ask as well. When you talk about kids and learning the scheme, well, a coach, it's the same. He's in the same boat, and Coach Williams I know he was with Coach Slaughter a long time, and he's been in the big country a while with Clyde and Sweetwater stops. But he's been great, unbelievably good man, great family man, and he wants what's best for these kids. Coach Lee, of course, he doesn't help me coach football, but he's a great support structure. Came up, give me a big hug the other night after the victory, and that's what we're trying to create. I've been a lot of places where football coaches, and the basketball coach, they don't jihad, they don't get along, and it's constant, pulling back and forth. And I truly believe, Coach Lee, he wants what's best for our program, and I can't wait to cheer them on the hardwood, here in the late fall and early winter. But that's what it is. It's a family atmosphere. We got some good people on staff. And, Coach Jason Gorman, he's been here a year. He was one of the ones that was a holdover from the last staff. He came from Eastland. His daddy's been assistant at Abilene High a long time. So he gets it. He understands, comes from a coaching family. So I just can't, these guys, they're doing everything I asked them to do. And we're going to we're going to grind. I told them day one, you're not going to outwork us. And it's sad, but, we kind of kissed the wife and babies, a couple weeks ago and said, hey, hopefully we see you in December.
And Coach, you were a candidate for that Merkel job the last time it was open. Obviously, you got it this time. What was it about that program that kind of attracted to you, and what were some things that made you want to have that up as your first head coaching stop?
Well, I'd be lying to tell you if I'd been searching for I wanted to be an AD and head coach a long time. I'm 37, and I was a coordinator at 25, and so I've known what my program looked like for a long time, and it just takes the right fit. Sometimes you go into a place and for whatever reason, whether it's one person on the committee or just not the same fit. Maybe ideal. You look at the ideals of the program, and this place, I'll be honest with you, it was attractive because when you look around the area and you see in the big country, there are small programs and large programs alike where all of them have had levels of success. And my whole thing was, why not Merkel? I told the kids last week, and I'll tell you guys, because of the turnover in staff, there's been a stigma. We made the playoffs 3 years ago. And I told the kids, I challenged them. I said, some of you, I feel like it was 30 years ago. Why is that the case? I truly believe a place that has had some success and had a little tradition will have tradition success again. It's not a dead end. And when you look at Sweetwater and their run to the state championship, 5 years back, and you look at Abilene High and their success back in the late 2000s, and of course Jim Ned and Clyde is, I think, up and coming. And then you go up the road with Stanford when James Washington was there. I mean, there are opportunities around the area, but I think that's because kids work extremely hard out here. I think it's a tougher kid. I'll be honest with you. I've coached up and down 35. I've coached in Houston and Fort Worth and the Metroplex, of course, in LaGrange, which was, between Austin and Houston. And we had great kids there in all those places, but these are some tough working kids. And it's kind of like, the old run through the brick wall mentality. It's probably why my grandfather was pretty good out here, because he was a pretty tough guy.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about your position as a first-year coach? I kind of like it. You are in a position where there's not a lot of pressure. There's not a lot of high expectation, and yet you can use this as motivation for your kids to fire them up, because nobody's expecting much from Merkel this year.
Yeah, one of the things that we talk about constantly is expect more from yourself than anyone would ever expect from you. And we tell our kids that. It's funny you say that, Mr. Wren, because our mentality, and last week, we always have a theme of the week. I alternate coaches and have them come up with a theme each week. And ours last week was UAW, it was us against the world. And really, I just told them, hey, look, people are going to tell you, hey, this coach quit on you. He left you. It's COVID and there's not as much talent here as there used to be and all this stuff. And it's really about this family that's in this locker room. And then those people that come out, whether there's 500 or 5,000 on Friday nights, that you're going to walk out those doors out of the Badger Den, and you're going to represent for this family in this locker room, because that's who we're playing. We're playing for each other. And we want to make the community of Merkel, we want to make people proud. I mean, we want them to, drive into Abilene. We want to get to where if they have a Merkel sticker on the back of their car, they're proud to rep that as they ride around, anywhere in the big country. And when you go to Abilene to go to dinner or whatever it may be. And we're trying to sell that to our kids, that's the key. We have to make sure that it's block out the noise, do your job, worry about your business, and protect this family. And they did it last week, and they believe, and it's pretty cool so far.
Coach, looking around the area, when you saw the final scores coming in Friday night, Saturday morning, were there any that made you do a double take, or did anything catch you by surprise?
Well, looking at them, I know, Coach. Not necessarily our classification, but I know Coach Lucas. They I think battled some COVID issues early on, and they're going to get those guys right. He's a heck of a coach, and his staff, at Sweetwater. Looking at our district, I can't pay attention to pre-season scores right now. Really, to be honest with you, our district is so competitive. Coach Escobar and Comanche, he's going to get them going. I promise you. And when you talk about Eastland and Jacksboro and Millsap, Dublin had a big win against. They got after DeLeon pretty good. But I know those guys, when district comes around, unbelievable coaching staffs will be ready to go. And he's one of my best friends. He was actually my assistant O-line coach at Arlington Heights back, 11, 12 years ago. Jake Johnson's head coach at Millsap, and they got, they put it on Bruceville Eddie pretty good. And I talked to him early in the week. He's like, "Yeah, coach, they're huge up front." And, I texted him after the game. I said, "Thanks for sandbagging me so much that the whole week," because they took care of him. I knew they would, but we're going to be ready. It's we know what kind of waits for us at the end of the rainbow, so to speak, in non-district, and we just got to prepare our kids and challenge them mentally from a scheme point. That way, when we put something on them in district and we ask them to execute, that they're going to answer the bell.
Coach, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. We'll stay in touch with you throughout the season and keep an eye on you. Best of luck to you the rest of the way.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. And, we're excited about what we got building here, and go Badgers. And
that was Merkel head football coach Will Cates. Dan, I get the feeling that he's just been waiting for this moment for his entire life, and he's chomping at the bit to get this thing going, and they're off to a good start.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, you just in that conversation, I think you heard the excitement level. He's a guy that's excited about what he's doing. He's excited about where he's at, which I think is really neat, particularly given, what's happened at Merkel with the turnover they've had. So he's a guy that I think you and I have been high on just in the conversations we've had with him. Being out of the practice, you could tell he's a guy that's got it together, very prepared. So, yeah, I think it's going to be really neat to see what he can do out there. And I'm excited to see what they can do. I think this was a good start, like you said, and I think they've got an opportunity to build something out there.
And with that, it's just about time to wrap up this week's Capital Farm Credit Wednesday night podcast. But before we do that, we want to remind you that we have 3 separate subscription packages here at BigCountryPreps.com. We've got a monthly for $5 a month. We've got a semi-annual 6-month subscription where we knock that price down to $4 a month. And then we've got an annual where we knock the price down to $3 a month, $36 for a full year of Big Country High School athletic coverage.
And if you've been scrolling around the site, you've probably noticed that our photo galleries have changed just a little bit in appearance, but we're still taking a lot of photos from these games that we're out at, and you can still purchase those for just $7 a piece on digital downloads. And now we're offering some additional products in terms of prints and even some keepsakes. So if you see some photos you like, check those out. You just follow those prompts, and it'll have an opportunity to check out the products available. But yeah, check those out. It's something we really enjoy doing. We take a lot of pictures. It's something we take a lot of pride in here at BigCountryPreps.com.
All Big Country, all high school, all the time. Welcome home.